Hello, 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 hello. Thank you for subscribing and thank you for joining me today on Geopolitical Blog. Thank you and welcome to my live session. We're just today we're discussing just a few things today, just to get to understand what is happening in Nigeria. And like we say all the time, a lot is happening in Nigeria, and some of these things are just very funny, some are mind boggling, and some are very intriguing. So, within the last few days, a lot has happened in Nigeria, has left a lot of people surprised as to where is Nigeria headed. Um, Starting revelations from the World Bank about Nigerian economy, even though the presidency is denying that that is not the case about what is happening. But for me, I think that's a double standard from the federal government saying that the World Bank doesn't know what it's talking about. But when the World Bank gave a good review of the reforms embarked upon by the government, the government, welcomed the World Bank's observation. But when it's not in favor of the government will always tell you the World Bank doesn't know what it's talking about. But the most important thing at the end of the day lies in the fact that Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are, at the receiving end of the reforms that we've seen the last 2 years, subsidy removal, now with the heavy tax burden that is will be coming in force just a few months away to 2026. So let's see how that plays out. But basically, the lots of Nigerians are not improving. And even the World Bank has said about 130 million, 139 million Nigerians are deeply into poverty, and that the reforms are not really doing anything, the reforms are not really working. So it means the government needs to do better, because in a society where you have too many disgruntled people, in a society where there are too many people unemployed already, in a society where there's economic hardship, in a society where things are not really what they should be, of course, we know what the results will be: crime, increase in crime. In fact, there'll be, a whole lot of increase in crime and criminality, because it's more like a time bomb where you have too many young people not working in a country. It's not really good. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for the country. It's not just good generally when you have too many young people, able-bodied, not working. It's not really a good tale for the country. So basically, what we're just talking about today, that's the most important thing, because it affects everyone. It affects you. It affects myself. It affects everyone except for those in the political class. And another thing I just want to point out today is the fact that something that happened a few days ago between Arise, one of the anchors of the morning show on Arise News, Rufai Husseini, and the Honorable Minister of Works, the engineer David Umahi, where a lot of people focused on the fact that the heated debate between the journalist and the minister. And nobody's talking about the fact that the minister said, when issues about bad roads were mentioned, the minister talked about, mentioned that the government inherited, that this current administration inherited the bad roads. Inherited the bad roads from who? Inherited the bad roads from the APC government of Muhammadu Buhari. And this is also an APC government. So who inherited who? Because they are all of the same, they're supposed to be the same party. So if you say you inherited, that means the previous administration failed. And everybody seemed to have forgotten in a hurry. And that's one of the problems I have with Nigeria. I think we have very shallow political memory, or political history. It's not part something we take serious in Nigeria, or people just forget political events so easily. If I remember very, very clearly, when Muhammadu Buhari was there as president. David Umahi was governor of Ebonyi State, and everybody saw how sycophantic David Umahi was. During the regime of Muhammadu Buhari, he said Muhammadu Buhari was a messiah that has brought succor to Nigeria. In fact, he eulogized or sycophantically praised Buhari so much that you would think. In fact, at one point, he even likened Buhari to the next to God, to best thing that's happened to Nigeria, and he stated clearly that Buhari has performed tremendously well. And this sycophantic gesture is one of the reasons he had issues with the current minister of the FCT, where he described him as sycophant, and there were serious issues. So I think the people have forgotten so easily how this man sang the high praises of Buhari, when Buhari was there and when he was governor of Ebonyi State. So one will assume, with all the praises and all the encomiums he poured on Buhari, one will assume that Buhari has transformed Nigeria based on the sycophantic gesture or the sycophantic praises, of David Umahi. And now he's saying that Tinubu inherited bad roads. From who? Is it from PDP, from Jonathan, or from who? He still inherited it from Buhari. So that means Tinubu just have to be very, very careful about the psychophans that are around him. And this is some of the things, we always try to bring to Nigerians, that Nigerians forget so easily when, all these things are happening. Nigerians just forget. So, and for those who kept saying that Rufai was rude, you shouldn't have said that. This man is a public servant, for crying out loud. This man is a public servant, he's sustained by taxpayers' money. So when you ask public servants what they do with taxpayers' money, I don't think you need to lay down a red carpet for them before they can answer questions. We deserve, Nigerians deserve to know. We deserve to know. It doesn't matter how the questions are asked. And for people who are not used, Nigerians are so used to, you are suffering, and and your tax master or the person that's put you through so much problem, you worship them, because that's what things I've seen with Nigerians. You worship these people. Somebody who has put you through so much trouble, so much stress, so much poverty, you worship them. You don't, these people are not worship. And for people who are not used to Rufai Hussaini's style of politics, should go and Google or watch Piers Morgan. Someone who has, or go to CNN, I'm poor. Go and watch their style of journalism, how they, you know, ask people questions. Listen to Piers Morgan and go to YouTube and watch Piers Morgan Uncensored, and then you see how journalists are meant to ask you questions that will rattle you, meant to ask you questions that will, you know, get you, probably even get you confused. And before you know what's happening, you might not even know what to answer. Go and watch Piers Morgan interview with the royals, with top people, so you understand that what Rufai Sen is doing is not far from his style of journalism, especially when you have the kind of um, political class we have in Nigeria, where what just matters to them is just them and their pocket. So many issues, and then we want to talk about even the certificate, the minister that just resigned, the minister of science and technology and innovation, who of course was very, very innovative enough to have forged his bachelor's degrees, NYC, and other degrees. And what we heard was he just resigned. Resigning does not suffice. The perjury and forgery is a serious criminal offense, especially somebody who has lied his way into becoming minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, lied to the Senate, lied to everybody, lied to the president. I think this person deserves a jail term. And of course, and people are not even asking, he has resigned. Somebody that was minister for more than 2 years. So all the allowances and salaries that he has collected, Will that just go away? All the profligacies of office that he had enjoyed as a minister, all the decisions he had taken, I think everything needs to be reversed. And most importantly, the allowances, the salaries that he had collected, all that has been spent on him while he was Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation. I think he needs to refund those things back to the Nigerian people because those are taxpayers' money, and he lied to the taxpayers. He lied to everyone, and that brings to question on when the list of people who are to go to public office is released, and then they said um, security clearance. So what kind of clearance is the DSS even doing in the first place? Because if somebody will fool a whole nation, a nation that prides itself as a giant of Africa, a nation that prides itself as the biggest in the continent of Africa, the nation that prides itself as having the highest number of black people on the surface of the earth, and then you have someone who did not finish a degree and then claim to have that degree and then come in and deceive the entire country. So you ask yourself, what is even the DSS and other security agencies doing? Those charged with the responsibility of screening these candidates who are vying for public offices. We need to ask ourselves, what are they doing? What are they doing? Because it just doesn't make any sense that this man for over 2 years, will deceive the entire nation. So we need to keep asking ourselves, what is he doing? What has he been doing? And if you're just joining my live session, this is Geopolitical Blog, and we're discussing the state of the nation. And like what I always say, a lot is happening in Nigeria. And today we've talked about the World Bank's, report on the Nigerian economy. We've also talked about um David Umahi and is the issue on Arise Television, and then we're talking about the certificate forgery scandal that has rocked the Federal Executive Council with the Minister of Science and Technology, who innovatively forged his certificate to become a Minister of the Federal Republic. You want to talk about Nigeria. Nigeria, the issues, in Nigeria, they're inexhaustible. We can talk about them for the whole day, and then we keep talking. And the fact remains that at some point, it just appears like the government, they're not listening to the people because so many things are pointed out every day. Some of these things are on the public space. And sometimes when you criticize the government and you get arrested, there's no freedom of speech. And these policies of government, they have effect on all of us in that country. You see? And you know, there's this menace I always talk about, the menace of ethnicity and religion, because even now that the people are calling for the prosecution of the man that forged certificate to become minister, a lot of people are now bringing up, oh, Kemi Adeosun, who forged NYC certificate and other certificates under Buhari, was just simply asked to resign, and because she's Yoruba, and now this one they want to prosecute an Igbo man. You see, when people, this is what I always say, that if we don't kill this ethnicity and religion, one day is going to kill Nigeria. And because for something of a criminal nature, for something that involves our commonwealth as a country, for something that involves the entire Nigerians, you find people still bringing ethnic and religious dimension to the whole thing. A crime has been committed here. It doesn't matter the tribe. A crime has been committed to, against the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Hausa, the Efik, the Kanuris, the Edos, the Ibibios, everybody. A crime has been committed against the Nigerian state. And everyone who lives in Nigeria, can lay claim to, as long as you're a Nigerian, can lay claim to all of this. So a crime has been committed not to the Igbos, not to the Yorubas. We understand that, yes, it's even wrong to have allowed Kemi Adeosun to just resign just like that. You know, it brings a lot of things, a lot of questions. But the fact remains that um, a crime has been committed, and it's not just for the man who has committed the crime to do. So what's the difference between this man and the Yahoo boy on the street who deceive people, sell, give them, tell them what they do not have just to fleece them of their hard-earned money? So this is exactly the crime that's been committed here. So if the EFCC can go against Yahoo boys who are deceiving people and collecting their money, why can't the police go against Mr. Naji, who has deceived the entire nation, telling us he had a degree when he didn't have any, and then he has risen up to become a minister of the Federal Republic? This is a serious crime that should not just be swept under the carpet. I think we need to do something about this. Okay, so I think we're coming towards the end of our live of this live session. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, okay, and TikTok. And please leave your comments, for what you think about this live session. And please leave your comments and like and also share so others can be part of what we're doing. And now we will go live at least 2 3 times every week so we can bring to your doorsteps happenings in Nigeria, so you can be aware of the things that are happening in Nigeria, because you have the right, you deserve to know the things that are happening in Nigeria. But just for you to be the first, please subscribe to this channel and always like, share, and subscribe. Get other people to subscribe so they can be part of what is happening. And you can always leave your suggestions of what you want to see happen here, or whatever topics you think we should talk about every week. And trust me, we'll have all of those for you on a weekly basis. So I remain Joel, and thank you for your time.